Alright, let's react to this. Alright. Alright, so we have the new patch detailed preview. Some of the things that I talked about yesterday are going to be different because they changed them. AP items. Leechman, while being pretty anemic last season, having a lot of its launch taken up by Night Harvester, is proving to be very strong first item on a lot of champions. Yeah, don't disagree. We're taking stock of the AP system and are noting that first item choice structure for AP Assassin's type is pretty good between Leech, Rocket Belt, Ludens. But some of these items are stronger and weaker than the others. Okay, yeah. And Leech is by far strongest, the other two are whatever. This is prompting us to want to put Storm Surge into more of the second item space and bring Leech down and Rocket Belt up in the first item space to put everything more in line. Personally, from playing this game for 13 years, I find it really weird that Leechbane is the first item in League of Legends. I find that extremely weird. Like, Protobelt feels natural to me, but Leechbane just doesn't. I don't know. I think the amount of move speed in the game is so unhealthy. Proc damage. We've seen a lot of discourse around proc damage and Storm Surge being unsatisfying. Yeah, the item is beyond useless. One of the lessons from the previous system is that more players dislike items being a delivery system for proc damage than those who liked it. On the design side, we also found it hard to support, especially when creating new items that hard to compete with these outputs. We're making a call that we won't intentionally try to push item proc damage values over 200. Over time, this means we want items to carry a bit less of power budget compared to champions. Proc damage and especially proc damage scaling with ratios is one of the leading causes for indiscriminate damage creep. Yeah, but you guys say that, but Leechbane is like crazy high proc damage right now. This is an inspirational and forward-facing value. Things like Leechbane, Prof and Hydra currently violate this principle. Okay, so they did say it. But have been grandfathered in. What does that even mean? Because disentangling is not even a word. The power of Leechbane procs from these champions are putting it elsewhere is quite difficult. Alright. Items. First items for farming tanks have been pretty weak, Sunfire and Heartsteel. So we're looking to make them more appropriately powerful across their intended across power. In keeping with the narrative of previous patches, trying to flatten out the support quest items. So they're weaker at one item spike. This is mainly to reduce the incidence of things like one item support being able to solo scrap with bot laners. Okay. Champions. There's a lot of changes here. So let's just talk about some of the notable ones that we didn't chat about yesterday. Rek'Sai, we're still continuing to try and support Bruiser Rek'Sai. E and R damage aren't quite hitting the mark, especially after E's change of being off true damage. I think you should just bring back the true damage from Rek'Sai. Honestly, I don't see the problem with that. Evelynn. Evelynn is a champion with a pretty unique play profile in League of Legends. In high elo, she's played by a lot of mains. Her mastery curve is quite steep and starts pretty low. While her new players are dragging her win rate down from this steep curve, this is offset by a lot of her players being mains and pulling her win rate up. Typically, she sits over 50% for this reason. However, when she's pushing 52, she can feel low counterplay, so we're tapping her down. Multiple different changes for Evelynn were considered, but slowing her clearing speed and needing to land more Qs to hit our threshold was where we landed. Okay. Twisted Fate. We like that he's shaping up meta. We're not going to lead the balance right away, especially for a multi-role, multi-build champion, but when we add these things back into the game, we'll try our best to have them balanced as possible. AD is clearly stronger in high levels of play, and E is a lot of the reason for that. True? So we're isolating the nerf to the AD build dispatch, especially when he's got a lot of uptime on his targets. Okay. Vayne. We like Qmax of Vayne, feeling that it makes her lane a lot more. What? Feeling that it makes her lane a lot more? Interactive, especially in bot lane, which is otherwise try to farm and get punished simulator. But that's kinda true. We want to strike the balance between enabling her to be a proactive in bottom, especially in her good matchups, while not running over top lane. So we're nerfing passive and Q. Personally, I think it's impossible. Like, they've tried this for God knows how long. They have consistently failed. The last time they buffed Vayne, the intention was, hey, we're gonna buff ADC Vayne. Guess what happened? Top Vayne took over ADC Vayne. I think at this point it is impossible, given Vayne's kit, to make her a better ADC than top laner. I genuinely think it's impossible without a kit reshape. Seraphine. This change list is a big one. We suggest checking out Freak. The gist of it is that non-supports are performing too well. Players are clearly voting for her to be support. Okay, this is kind of wrong, right? He says they're voting her, but that's not true. They're just playing her. They're playing her in support because when people play in League of Legends, Seraphine's kit gives them a feeling of her being a support. There's no voting, really, but okay. Smolder. Players are still trying to experiment with a lot of different builds on Smolder. We're also trying to figure out how much the tankier style pattern able to be healthy supported long term. I can tell you right now. It is extremely unhealthy that Smolder's build is health long term. This is the same thing as Zeri. When Zeri was in the game and she built Triforce, Hydra, everyone and their mom knew it was giga OP unhealthy for the game. A range ADC that has already a dash on the kit should not be able to itemize tanky items this easily. This is obviously complete design fail. But I know why they're not changing it yet, because it's a new champion. They want people, because it's one of the most popular champions in the game. They want people to still enjoy this for a while longer. They will eventually change this. I also think because Smolder is so popular, he's probably going to be getting a lot of Riot bias in the future. I think he's gonna get much more love and much less hate, something compared to something like Renekton. Like similar to something like Renekton. We're also trying to make his arm mechanics actually carry weight. Right now, they also pick the complexity cost of being there. Okay, I don't even know what the second sentence means here, but the first sentence makes sense. We're still trying to figure out the purpose of E on his kit. Currently, it's a trap to cast it in offensive cases, but we're trying to support that without making the pattern unhealthy gameplay-wise. I completely disagree. Smolder E has to be cast offensive. That is a good thing for League of Legends, because then he burns a cooldown that's defensive while getting damage off. This is good for the game. I don't really get, like, when I play Smolder, I constantly use my E for offensive usages. How is it a trap? I don't see it. Alright, and now to the detailed previews of actual numbers, which we didn't have yesterday. So Jarvan's gonna get his Q cooldown reverted, how it used to be before, when Jarvan last season was broken with Gorging Resurgent build. It used to be 6 seconds, so this is just a revert. And armor per level is going up. Okay, decent Jarvan buff. This is gonna be very nice. 2 seconds is really big. So this is his first max ability. And usually, when first max abilities get 1 second cooldown off, they're very big buffs already. But this is 2 seconds. This is massive. He also gets less haste in current version of League compared to back then, right? So, okay. Kayn, passive healing up with some bonus HP. This is to try to incentivize Kayn with Rust to not build full lethality, because a lot of Kayn builds, when they play Rust Kayn, they buy only damage items. Our healing also up, okay. I think Rust is fine to buff. I think Rust is way less unhealthy than Shadow Assassin. Kog'Maw. Really? The passive MS 0 to 40 to 10 to 50. They have buffed passive damage, not passive damage, it's just like passive in general, like 5 times already. Why can't we just do a rework? Nerf his other abilities and give him an actual passive that fits the champion. Why don't we want to do that? I don't understand. Like, I genuinely don't understand why Kog'Maw has the worst passive in this video game. I don't. Q cast damage, 0 to 25 uses A timer, okay. E slot up by 10% just like yesterday, fine. And then another buff, R minimum AD ratio also up. I like the R buff because the buff is more towards AD Kog'Maw than AP Kog'Maw, and I think that's good. Jumalol, thank you for Twitch Prime. Rek'Sai, auto attack, animation, and speed improvements. Q autos can no longer be cancelled. Miscellaneous bug fixes, very nice. E 100% fear damage goes up by 2% in early game. So this is a clear speed increase, while also like damage increase in early game primarily. This is because Riot thinks Rek'Sai's late game now is good enough, so they want to buff the early game of the champion a little bit. But I personally still think true damage should just come back. E monster cap is also going up, so again, level 1 she's just going to be doing more damage, or like level 2 I guess, because she skills level 1 Q probably. R damage up by 50 flat and 5% missing HP. Nice. So her R is finally feels like an ultimate probably again. Sivir, one of the worst champions, getting 4 armor. I think this is a joke. Veigar, again, looks like same buff as yesterday. I already commented on it. The Q buff is very nice. The R buff is only impactful on first rank of Veigar R. Rank 2, Veigar R is already so low cooldown, and you already have haste at that point that it just doesn't do anything. This on rank 2. This is only a rank 1 buff. Vex looks like it's similar to yesterday, so passive just up by 5% and 10% more damage. This is like impactful if you play against Yasuo and Yon, right? Champions don't dash a lot. Even then, I think this does nothing to Vex. You're not gonna see her in pro, she's still pretty bad. E killing units with E now grants passive refund. This is like nice quality of life change. Realistically, yeah, maybe in lane it will have maybe an impact in lane. Wukong gets a massive passive buff. Again, less stacks, so half less stacks. Stack efficiency goes 2x, so basically for each stack you have twice a stronger stack, right? And then passive stacks now fall off one at a time rather than one at once, which is like amazing change for top and jungle. So like his passive is just much better. Velvet, E damage reduction 35. So yeah, basically just less E damage reduction. So the thing about Velvet is that I don't think this is gonna like nerf her by much, but I do like the change in a way, because what is Velvet strong at? To me, she's strong at mobility and damage, so she should be squishy as a champion. Being burstable while she's Eing is nice, but however, there's so many scenarios where Velvet is not even getting focused on when she's Eing, so yeah, I mean, it's gonna make a play, but I still think champ is gonna be really good. Brand, so R damage down at later ranks, I don't think it's a big deal. R cooldown up by 5, I also don't think it's a big deal. I think Brand jungle is still okay, kind of same. Evelynn Q AP ratio, so this is a change. Yesterday they were on PB, they put nerf on R, now they changed it, it's no longer R, it's actually Q now. So 5% AP scale on Evelynn Q is actually pretty good nerf, because yeah, this is used 4 times, right? So the nerf is actually bigger than you might think. A decent Evelynn nerf. Maokai 5 less movement speed, okay. Very good. Maokai is really annoying because the champ buys Sweetness Boots and the champ buys the support item that gives MS. So his movement speed is around 400 by default, which is like way too much. And instead of Riot nerfing those items, they actually just go for base MS, which is like, okay, you do you. W cooldown up by 1 second, decent, I guess. Q monster damage up by 40, so jungle Maokai is gonna probably even be similar win rate. And then the support item is also nerfed, okay? That's at least 1% down on Maokai, right? The win rate on Maokai will go down by at least 1% this patch. Probably slightly more. Nidalee. Well, again, Nidalee is same as Maokai. She buys Leechbane, which gives her MS. Instead of Riot nerfing Leechbane, they nerf her base MS. So they don't nerf other champions. 5 MS down, Q Cougar form, less damage. I think these are fair nerfs, okay? I still think, yeah, as I said yesterday, I wish they would reduce the E-healing. Senna, Q damage ratio down by 10%. It impacts Senna, ADC, and support, fine. To be honest, Senna Q isn't really used for damage much, in my opinion. And yeah, I still think she's gonna be really good. Twisted Fate, okay, so Twisted Fate nerf compared to yesterday is much bigger today. So again, E-nerf on attack speed is the same, but E-AD ratio was 50% and now it's 25%. This is a massive nerf. This is a massive ADTF nerf. I honestly, I don't know if he's gonna be completely gone, but goddamn, this is gonna gut him. I genuinely think this is so much damage nerfed. Vayne, passive MS down by 15, Q cooldown down by up early ranks. So for top Vayne, I mean, the passive MS is nerfed for every role, but for ADC, the Q change is a bit worse because you get lava slower than top Vayne. Vayne's still gonna be fine. If enemy team has tanks, if you have a good matchup, if it's a good Vayne game, Vayne will still be S tier champion, but obviously worse as a blind, worse in tough matchups. Zac, passive healing down by 1%, very good nerf, but that W damage down up by 5. This is overall a nerf to the champion. Zac is genuinely healing way too much as a champion. I'm kind of glad this is, getting hit. In the past, Zac would be healing only a lot when he would buy Spirit Visage, but right now no Zac player buys Spirit Visage and they're still healing like a shit ton. Okay, so we have Seraphine adjustments. I don't want to go over all of them again, because I already went over them. But let me think what my change, like what my I kind of forgot what my conclusion was. I think my conclusion was that the champion will kind of get nerfed. You're gonna have to max Q into E no matter what. And that mana issues might be apparent, but I'm not sure about that. And that her wave clear got kind of hit as well. I think those were my conclusions. Yeah. We'll see. Smolder commented on it yesterday. Pretty much to me, these are mostly buffs. The champion will be weaker in mid game as he hits 225 stacks. He's gonna have less burn damage. But once you go to like third item and 300 stacks, the champ will be much better, and then he's gonna get even better and better. So slightly worse mid game, better late game. His E is straight up buffed at every point in the game, and his R is also buffed at every point in the game. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if his win rate goes up, honestly. Yorick, E gold damage down by 10%, but the maiden armor is gonna be crazy buffed, and the maiden no longer takes 50% AoE damage. Wow, okay. What? Okay. Okay. You know, the feeling I have when you play against Yorick is that you're not even playing against Yorick, you're playing against Maiden. I feel like Yorick is the only champion in the game that a pet has so much power, like any T-Burst is not comparable, Iron Days is not comparable. I genuinely feel like you're just playing against Maiden, you're not even playing against Yorick at that point. System buffs. So this Dream Maker item that Nami abuses is gonna have a crazy scaling now with damage and shield, but early game slightly worse. I'm scared for this. I'm honestly scared. Heartsteel is gonna do basically more damage because even though base is lower, a lot of champs that buy Heartsteel will buy HP, right? So 2% HP scale is gonna out damage this eventually. Mundo is probably really happy with this change. Mundo is getting Heartsteel buffed and Sunfire dispatch. Hectic Rock Belt, 100 more gold for 10 more AP. Is this a buff or a nerf? That's a good question. I don't know. So Hectic Rock Belt has same cost now as Road of Ages. I would assume this is honestly a buff. 10 AP is more worth than 100 gold. However, yeah, you kind of care about 100 gold because you want to rush the item usually, right? So it's kind of like iffy. In some cases it's a nerf, in some cases it's a buff, but I think mostly a buff. Not a big one though. This is one of my most hated changes in this patch. Storm Surge getting 3% MS. I hate it. I genuinely think the game has so much problems with move speed being so oppressive in the game. I have no fucking clue why we're buffing move speed compared to anything else. We could put haste on the item. We could buff AP. We could buff any base stat on the item, but move speed. Like, why are we buffing move speed? I hate this. Celestial position, 2 seconds down on cooldown, slow up. I don't know what this one does. Some for ages, 50 health up. Isolate damage slightly better. The bigger buff here on some for ages is just 50 health. The immolate damage, whatever, doesn't really matter. Are people gonna be buying some for ages? Maybe. Because Frozen Heart is getting also worse, so maybe. Frozen Heart, 100 more cost, 5 less armor. Okay, fair. Item will... I think this is the last Frozen Heart nerf we're gonna see, genuinely. I don't think Frozen Heart will get a nerf anymore after this. Maybe a buff by 5 armor, but not a nerf. Yeah, this is the last Frozen Heart nerf for sure. Lichbane, 5% less AP ratio. Okay, that's a fair Lichbane nerf. The item is obviously Giga OP. On every champion, Lichbane's win rate is crazy. This is fair. I wouldn't be surprised if Lichbane will get another nerf soon. And then this item, Solstice, Sly, cooldown up by 10. So this is like Maokai item, right? Cooldown up by 10. Health 50 to 30, which is probably a nerf, and the decaying move speed also goes down. Alright, so this is the Maokai nerf. Maokai is probably the biggest abuser of this. And that's the patch. Looking overall like a decent patch. Personally, you know, I'm usually very critical of Riot, but they're hitting a lot of high elo problems, so I would deem it as a good patch. And on top of that, the only champion that I really think is missing on this patch is Janna. Janna should 1 billion trillion% be nerfed this patch. I don't know where's just Janna nerf, honestly. I don't know. That's the only thing that's missing. Alright. That's the patch.